So today's question is a really good one. Today's question is, why does my voice go small around certain people? This is a very important question, and I think a lot of people can relate to this. I know I can. I know that there have been certain people in my life where my voice gets very small. It shrinks up, it goes quiet. It's it's almost like it's trying to hide. And that's what we have to think about when we're trying to diagnose these certain problems. Consider metaphor. Try to think of the symbolism behind the physical action of your voice. So if your voice goes small, it's shrinking. It's getting quiet. It's almost like it's hoping it will not be heard. Why? Why would anybody go small? Why would anybody hide? Well, let's just go primitive for a second and let's think about what our biology does when we're hiding. Why would you hide? Because you feel like you're in danger. If you were physically hiding from somebody, it would be because you think this person is out to hurt you. And so your voice is a reflection of your biology. Your voice is a direct response from your nervous system. And so if your nervous system is getting a message that somebody is not safe, your voice is going to go small. You're going to hide. You're going to try to say as little as possible because you're trying not to get in any kind of trouble, or you're just trying to not embarrass yourself, which could also be the other reason. You might be around somebody who's not necessarily a threat, but you just find them so interesting and so cool that you feel intimidated around them, and you don't know how to be comfortable being yourself because you fear their judgment. You fear being yourself. So when your voice goes small, I would argue that what's happening is you're having a fear response that has to do with your authenticity. There's a part of you that fears being seen honestly, completely. You're afraid of the consequences of being yourself. And so the question becomes, why are you afraid to be yourself? What is it about this person that inspires these feelings? Are these people trying to intimidate you? Is that actually part of their tactic? Or are these people totally innocuous human beings who you just admire, and for some reason there's a part of you that feels like you're not equal to them? This is where journaling is really helpful. So if you were to spend a week journaling about these questions, contemplating this, go on a walk and talk to yourself and ask yourself, why do I feel so intimidated around so and so? You might figure out that some of these people are indeed threatening, but then you might also realize that some of these people are really nice and you just fear not being cool enough to keep up with them. And that's worth exploring. Where did you get this messaging that you're not equal to another person? I'll share with you a personal story in my own journey. When I first moved to LA, I was fresh out of college. I was 24 years old, and I was from a small city in Northeast Florida with a very Southern culture. And I felt very intimidated by the LA coolness culture. I was suddenly surrounded by very successful people in the entertainment industry, and I feared that I wouldn't be able to fit in. And it's important to understand what is the real meaning behind the words fit in, because who cares if I fit in? When I go deeper, I realize it wasn't about fitting in. It was about feeling equal. It was about feeling like I'm on the equal level playing field. Because when I feel intimidated by somebody, it's because I think they're up here and I'm down here. How can I get myself to be like this? So when I first moved to LA, I immediately started teaching. My first jobs were at schools and after school programs, and I slowly began building up my private student clientele. My immediate goal was to get a Hollywood clientele. I really wanted to work around successful people in the film and music industries, and even fashion industry ended up becoming a thing in my world. I wanted to be around successful people because I wanted to be a successful person in music. I wanted to be a very high level success story of creativity. And I thought, if I'm going to teach music, I want to teach music to people who will teach me a thing or two about what it's like to be successful. I wanted to be around their energy field. I wanted to be in their homes. I wanted to see how they carry themselves, how they dress, how they communicate, how they keep up with their living environment. And so I immediately started attracting high level celebrities as well as other successful people in the behind the scenes realm of the music and film industry. And you can bet I was intimidated at first, 100%, because I come from a world that I would describe as being working class, or I would even say lower middle class. I did not have a lot of money growing up. We were not the kind of family that could just go to a restaurant anytime we wanted. We never took vacations. I almost never had new clothing. About once a year, my mom would take me shopping. My mom worked part-time at J.C. Penney's, the department store. This doesn't exist anymore. And we had a pretty good discount. And every year at Christmas time, she had this amazing discount. And so that was pretty much the only time I would get new clothing. And so most of my clothing was secondhand, which was fine because it was the 90s. I was a very artsy person and that kind of thing worked. I made it work for myself, so don't feel sorry for me. I'm just telling you this so that you understand that I came from a very different economic class than the people I was working for. And so you can bet that I was intimidated walking into these gigantic homes in the Hollywood Hills with these people who looked stylish even in their loungewear. Their hair was always perfect, even if they were wearing a tank top and jeans. Just everything was on another level. And these kinds of people hired a lot of people for all kinds of things, not just to teach their children private piano lessons, but also housekeeping, nannies, gardeners. Everything was outsourced. And so I saw how some of them talked to the help, and I hate to say that because I believe everybody deserves respect and dignity, and you better believe that I spoke to every single person with dignity, whether they were a nanny or the head of the household who was paying my fee. I spoke to everybody the same because I wanted to be treated the same. I wanted to see myself as being at the same level as the person sending me the check every month. And so I decided that I was going to just see myself that way. It's a mindset thing. And so in the beginning, yeah, there would be people where my voice would go small. And afterwards, I would reflect on it. I would ask myself, what is it about this person that makes me so uncomfortable? Some people were bullies, and that was the reason. They had that bully energy. Other people were just so cool, like this one famous actress who I won't name, just because I want to protect the privacy of people. But the first time I worked for a celebrity who I actually admired, because I didn't always admire the work of the people I worked for, and actually it was easier to interact with them because I didn't have that like starstruckness. But the first time I worked with a celebrity who I actually did admire a lot, it was like, it tested me because I definitely felt starstruck and I felt a little tongue-tied. And afterwards I thought, that's pretty interesting. This is going to be good for me to try to see myself at her level. And it was good for me because every single time I went to her house, I had to prepare myself mentally. I had to tell myself, I may not be famous like she is, but I'm just as talented. I have just as strong a work ethic. I carry myself with the same dignity. I treat other people with the same dignity. And she did. She's a very dignified person, and I like that about her. And so every time I would walk into that house, or every time I would, after COVID, be online with them, every time I had a conversation with her, I would have this attitude of being 100% equal. and it worked. I found that I was always in control of my voice once I got used to this idea. And I also felt that I got the respect I wanted. I was not treated like the help. I was treated like a professional who was on the same level as them. And I'll also tell you that as I began to adopt this attitude on a full-time basis, and it became habitual for me to see myself as equal to everybody I worked for, I started getting more opportunities. And so if you need a motivation to help you get to that point, let that be your motivation. You will begin to attract more opportunities as you begin to believe that you are at the same level as an A-list celebrity, as an Oscar-winning filmmaker, as a high-level fashion designer. If you start seeing yourself as being equal to them, you will start to attract equal opportunities. So I hope this helps you. Let me know in the comments if it brought up anything for you. Have you been able to control your voice around people who intimidate you? Or are you still in the stage where your voice becomes small, or your voice shakes, or you become tongue-tied or at a loss for words? What have you started doing to conquer that? And do you think you could get yourself to a point where you see yourself as equal to the most famous, most successful person you could possibly meet? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're interested in learning how I got to this point of vocal control, where I could control my energy around the most successful person in the room and the most intimidating and mean person in the room, which is a thing I was able to accomplish and I still can, then check out my course, The Voice Liberation Method, and also check out my Healthy Voice community. We do all kinds of fun things together in there. You can check it out in the description below. As always, keep going because the world needs your unique voice. I'll see you in the next video.